Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Fitton Center for Creative Arts. My name is Ian Mackenzie Thurley, being serenaded as ever by the air raid sirens behind me. We got a lot to get through today, so it's my great pleasure to welcome you all here. With that, I would like to thank our sustaining donors in the Arts Council and the Ohio Arts Council, Arts Wave in Cincinnati, the Hamilton Community Foundation, and the City of Hamilton. Thank you for your generous support. We do appreciate it. To our series sponsors in the Journal News, thank you very much for your sponsorship of the entire series of Celebrating Self. Thank you. And to Kathy Klink for her sponsorship of today's event. We really do appreciate it. As many of you know, Kathy is involved in a wide range, supporting a wide range of activities throughout the community and has been long involved here at the Fitton Center. So we really do appreciate that. I'm really excited about today. I've had lots of questions. What's the mill? What's the mill? And I'm not here to answer that question. The mill are going to answer that question. But we are incredibly lucky. You see a lot's going on in Hamilton at the moment. You're seeing our fantastic Street Spark murals going up. We've seen the development of Markham Park and then the Markham Apartments. River Road is going under reconstruction. There is so much happening in this city. It's vibrant. It's alive. Something that you might not see is the Hamilton Mill. And they're doing incredible things throughout the city, and we're pretty lucky to have it here. So I'll be very excited in just one moment to introduce you. But before I do, I'd like to thank our musicians from Baden High School. We have Sydney Lang and Benny on piano. Thank you so much, guys. We're keeping it local today, I have to say. I have to tell you a funny story with that. I saw Sydney playing with her band, with Baden Rocks, at an event here with Rotary, and I rang up a music teacher and said, wow, these kids are great, can I have them come and play? Can you get me a contact detail? And she goes, I thought you already knew her, she's one of your wife's students. So it turns out we were keeping it in the family. So we both have an eye for talent, and I'm pretty happy about it, but thanks for coming in today. As you know, we always have live local musicians here as part of our Celebrating Self event. It's pretty exciting stuff. So with that, I am really excited about what we have today, and we have lots of guests in, lots of small business, lots of incubation, startups, all these words that you hear about. But for us, the development of business in Hamilton is vital to the arts. If we have strong business, if we have dynamic business, both large and small, happening throughout the community, it's an incredibly positive thing for the arts. We feed off each other, financially, and we draw more people into the city, which again is only a good thing for the arts. And to have that here in the center of Hamilton, and in fact as good neighbors across the road, they have the best office in town. It's attached to a brewery. I wasn't sure if that was the first or second business they got in there, but they're pretty darn smart. So I'm very excited to introduce you today to Mr. Chris Lawson, who's going to talk to you about the Hamilton Mill.
The communities in the center of the island, the mountain, they don't even know when to expect electricity or water to come again, and are the ones that have received the least of aid. So you see them incommunicated. Right now they're receiving no signal for their cell phones, television, radio. They have no written press going in there. The only news they get is from people that go by in their cars. We can have great expectations for what the Puerto Rican people will be living on the next couple of months. It's gonna be on the hands of the NGOs, of the different international organizations, community leaders, to start different processes to empower the people.
I love the way WaterStep approaches a disaster, and that's come from a lot of experience, a lot of learning from other people, a lot of time debriefing what we've done in the past. We are able to go into an area like Puerto Rico and identify good partners, identify good leaders, and then put together a training center, if you will, a training course where emergency workers can gather. We're able to do that with 22 different municipalities down there. They can gather and learn our systems and then be able to take those back out to other people.
That means you're working, okay?
Okay.
And then the big bubbles over here mean that the machine is good suction, okay?
And this is not only about providing safe water for people that were using streams all along, that were using rivers where they thought the water might be safe. It's about making this municipality self-sufficient. They won't be without water for months, and then we are going to be able to avoid a health crisis that's on the horizon.
And it's hard to, to live like this. Water, electricity. Now we don't have nothing.
Those 22 municipalities and that impact has got to grow to 78, because there are 78 municipalities in Puerto Rico. They all want this, they all need this, they're all crying out for that. These are critical times even now, and WaterStep is ramping up its capabilities in manufacturing to answer this. We've got the groundwork laid to expand. The time is now, and we're able to do this together.
Again, I'm Chris Lawson from the Hamilton Mill, and I appreciate the opportunity to come and speak to you today about our somewhat unique economic development platform. And I call it economic development because we essentially do a lot of what you would traditionally find in an economic development department. The difference between what we do and, say, the city's economic development department is a matter of scale. And what we look for is not to go out and attract and get people to move here, but it's to grow those companies organically. And so I recognize in some ways, when I say incubator, two things pop to mind. Either people, A, don't know what I'm talking about, or two, they think I hatch chickens. Or I hatch breweries. Which I do, but that's not the extensive part of what we do. So please allow me, this is somewhat the first time I'm going to take this approach in describing what we do. We're more than an incubator, we're a platform. A platform to get the best ideas out there. Right, these ideas are usually at their earliest stage, and this is the time when they need the most support. And the reason why we do this is because, quite frankly, we're passionate about it. We love it. But not just in the sense of, right, supporting the startup as a ends to itself, but really as a means. Again, we never lose sight of the fact that this is an economic development process. And so we want to have more jobs here. We want to have greater tax income. But more so than anything, we want partners in our community. And so we look at our platform as not only economic development, but a way to revitalize Main Street, revitalize or create jobs regionally, along with globally. And I never lose sight of the fact that the organization, the Hamilton Mill, or other kind of subsidiary programs, I'm not the hero of the show. The other staff is not the hero of the show. It's the startups. And rather, right, that they're solving renewable energy problems or water problems or exercise problems or revitalizing Main Street or High Street, they're the heroes of this story. We're simply a tool to help them start up during those first most critical times and get them through those hard times by being a trusted partner. And so, whether it's Main Street or the region or the globe, we're here to assist. And we use our platform for that. So a little bit of background. I don't know how many of you remember BizTech, which was the former iteration of the incubator. Now BizTech is started approximately 15 years ago. Now, it had started in response to the closure of the phenol plant as a way to assist displaced workers start new ventures. While that was a noble goal, the actual outcome over years never quite hit that threshold. And it went into what I would deem, or I've called, the Death Valley of incubators, which was that it turned into cheap office space. So we blew it up. And one of the reasons why we blew it up was for the same kind of noble reason that it was started originally, we thought we need to reposition it for the new challenges that we're facing Hamilton. If you rewind to around 2011, 2012, there's a lot of closures going on. And this is one of the paper mills. And so the city manager saw that there was an opportunity to leverage something like an incubator to not only just attract your employers, those big companies, but also to make it another fertile ground to actually grow these companies organically. And so we worked diligently. But what we did not want to happen was we didn't want to utilize the Silicon Valley model. So we didn't want to go after unicorns or be the next biotech hub. That was not what we did. And so this person may or may not look familiar, but this is George Rentschler. This is an entrepreneur, a startup, right, that started his company in Hamilton. This was the type of pioneering industrialist that we wanted to recapitalize on. We thought we could leverage that kind of pioneering spirit. I mean, it was pioneers that founded Hamilton. It was industrialists that built it. That was a legacy that was worth pursuing. And the infrastructure of those things, that legacy, was still in place. That's what happens, right, when a couple people come together with a few $1,000s. I think this chart is interesting, and it sort of speaks to why we did what we did and why it is so important. If you notice something, the largest time of startup activity in Hamilton, industrial growth, of attracting and growing in Hamilton, was the late 1800s to the mid 20th century. And then it tapered off. We wanted to be a platform that helped recognize and reestablish that pioneering spirit, that startup spirit. At some point, Hamilton was pioneers. They were entrepreneurial. They were startups. They were founders. They were CEOs. And then somewhere along the line, we lost that spirit. And we wanted to recapture that spirit. And what I hope that I convey today about the Hamilton Mill is that the very essence of what we do is recapturing that spirit. Undoubtedly, Hamilton's products were the world's products. Somebody early on when I came to Hamilton said, Hamilton used to support itself. But Hamilton also supported America, and it also supported the world. And there's no reason why that same can't be true today. And so, leveraging that kind of infrastructure we created at the Hamilton Mill called City as a Lab. Basic concept. But all it did was take the city's assets, say, like its own utility department. And we would go to the utility department and say, what are some of the problems that you're having? Whether it's data or losing water in the system, what's the challenges that you have? We actually thought like this wasn't a very big deal. My colleague, Anthony Seppi, came from economic development. I came from the city manager's office. And what that allowed us to do is not only did we know the directors of, say, the city's utility department, but we also knew the CEOs of a lot of the companies around here. And so when we would find startups, what we would do is say, well, what industry are you doing? What kind of challenges are you solving? So if it was wastewater, we could put them immediately in front of the city's utility director. If they were solving, say, another kind of waste stream issue, we could put them in front of the companies that were having those kind of challenges. We had one startup that said that they had worked for a year trying to get in front of Cincinnati Waterworks. We got them in front of our water department in 1 week. Those were the type of things that can make a company thrive. Because more so than advisors or money or cheap office space, the number one thing that startups need that we provided was customers. Because we have a tight-knit community. So one of those companies was Siren. As you'll see over there, I would try to explain this, and I probably will mess it up. But here's the basic principle. Atmospheric pressure, right, works on wastewater and creates a foaming effect, which basically removes most, if not all, of the solids in a wastewater stream. Is that almost? Yeah. This has huge effects. This, in utilities, and he's beta tested it at utilities. It has huge effects in the natural gas area. Guess who's a big natural gas user? The city of Hamilton. And, right, it also has huge implications in agriculture processes as well. So these were the type of things that we continued to leverage and align our strategy with. KW River, which the Lowhead dams, they have a device, a micro hydro dam in essence. So not the $500 million project that you see in Meldal, but the same expertise is leveraged. You almost need the same amount of regulatory framework. This device cost approximately $700,000. You almost need the same amount of regulatory navigation for that as you do the $500 million one. So what was perfect was you had a professor that was in Dayton, you had a former Duke executive that was living in Cincinnati. This was the perfect place that they could meet, and also, right, Hamilton knew about hydroelectric. Two, not only did Hamilton understand hydroelectric, but it also had Lowhead dams that could be utilized. The beauty about this startup is that it produces renewable energy at a higher efficiency rate than wind or solar. But it also effectively modifies the dam and makes it safer for recreation. Powerglide Fitness is Andrew. I don't know where the device is, but it's an awesome device created by a group of GE Aviation engineers. It is the evolution of the barbell. And again, it's being innovated and created here in Hamilton. Those are, right, whether it's renewable energy or, right, an evolutionary exercise equipment, these are all impact nationally. But in a very real sense, we know that we have a heroin challenge here in the city and in this region. And because of those challenges, not only do people overdose and die from it, but the drugs that are out there are so toxic that first responders just getting in the vicinity of that substance is overdosing. While they're taking people to hospitals or jail, you're having overdoses. Because of the way that we do crime scene collection is roughly the same that we've done it in the last 60 years. We have a startup that's actually working with our city's police department and beta testing this. That solves this problem. Our systems, raise your hand. If you want to talk more about that or have interest in that, they're here as well. That's the kind of stuff, real world problems that we're solving that have global implications. I like this because there's a Hamilton Mill sign, and then there's the mayor of Cincinnati. And PG, who's a councilman. So we create this program, this City as a Lab program, which is totally different than almost any other incubator in the state. Really, it's pretty novel in the country. And, well, a venture capital firm out of DC comes to Cincinnati and says, hey, we know that you guys do water really well. There is more water patents per capita in this area than any other part of the country. You guys have more water labs in your universities than almost any other place in the country. You have this massive aquifer. You have the EPA, which is the federal government's research lab for water right in downtown or right next to UC. This is where Homeland Security sends all their water samples. I mean, all the next-gen water research is being done right there on campus. They said, why don't you, and nobody was leveraging this for startup advancement, except the Hamilton Mill actually was working with a number of water startups, like Seren. And so a group of individuals representing the startup community, the city of Cincinnati, UC, Xavier, EPA, came up and they wanted to get this program started. But they didn't want it to be a traditional accelerator. And we didn't want to run a traditional accelerator. We wanted something where, right, taking our city as a lab and expanding it to region as a lab, region as a platform. Why is this important? Why is this a great opportunity for not only the region but the city of Hamilton? Is because everyone is affected by water. It is a huge market, except for air. And so we wanted to utilize, right? These are one challenge that the EPA had estimated the cost on in the United States, a particular like sewage issue, was $2.6 billion. One issue, one water challenge in the United States. That's a huge market that goes completely undiscovered, untapped into. And we have all the resources here in this region to make that a huge success. So our approach was pipeline. And pipeline had a very specific way in which it wanted to form its program. Instead of just opening it up and saying, hey, startups that are innovating in water, we actually went to Cincinnati Waterworks, the other kind of manufacturers, think of Miller Coors, and we went there and asked them what their problems were. And so we collected problems, and then we opened up an application process for pipeline. And what we did was we aligned the startups solving the problems of the companies. And so instead of taking equity like a traditional accelerator would, they would get a potential contract. Because again, it comes down to the number one thing that startups need isn't, right, more advisors or even, right, more dilution of their ownership. It's customers. And that's what we provided them. And over 2 years, we're on our second year, we've received almost 200 applications from 5 continents and almost 20 countries. And in fact, we have one firm that comes from London and another one that comes from Sydney. That's Australia. That one's for you, Ian. So it tells you about, right, what we're doing here in the city of Hamilton. That isn't just, right, solving a local problem or even something regional, but this is a global program because we're leveraging global assets here. And so you saw Mark that, right, is where our own federal government failed, Mark stepped up. His device, about the size of this cart right here, provides 10,000 gallons of clean water without leaving the mounds of plastic water bottles. Agua Clara has created a water treatment plant that can be created by locally sourced materials and can be ran by somebody that has a 5th grade education. The water produced in these plants meets World Health Standards. She got awarded, this is a huge deal, as one of the best in the world in terms of the way that the company is going about meeting challenges. She's been funded by the Tata Foundation. I mean, huge, and she's launched in several places. If you don't have people like Mark and May innovating and Pipeline helping to find commercialization avenues, people are stuck with subpar solutions to their problems. These are okay, but these oftentimes lead to a lot of problems because they don't filter out everything. Oftentimes people don't know actually how to clean them, and all you have to do is get a clump of something that pops in there. So we want to solve problems, not just put Band-Aids on them. But before I end with that pipeline program, I mean, I really have to, Anthony, stand up. Anthony is the one that coordinates this and gets applications from all over the world, and they work with Anthony, and they continue to have membership at the Hamilton Mill, and Anthony basically does all the work, and I stand up here and take credit. So Anthony is the prime driver of the pipeline program. And I think that as the Hamilton Mill continues to evolve, that water is going to be a more and more essential thing because that's the future. We have to be able to utilize our resources in a more effective and efficient manner. And so pipeline is key to solving that global challenge. Now, talking about on the other side, on a very kind of local side, is our SBDC. Now, our SBDC has had a pretty stellar year. Our SBDC was named the #1 in the country. But before that, it was named the #1 in the Midwest. And before that, it was named the #1 in the state of Ohio. This is the first time that a SBDC, a Small Business Development Center, basically they're advisors for small businesses, had ever won in the state of Ohio. There's our 2 advisors. Dave is here. Where's Dave at? Not only, some of the reasons why they're #1, I think is striking. In the last 3 years, they have assisted over 150 people in starting their businesses. The number of exports with companies that they've assisted has went up millions of dollars. They have directly related to working with their contacts at banks, First Financial, Huntington, US Bank, etc. In the last 3 years, they have helped companies get approximately $25 million in private capital. That's all went relatively in this vicinity, in this region. So that is a huge marker indicator of success for what the SBDC does. And so our newest member is Sang Mi, and she comes from Ohio State's Technology Transfer Office, a JD, and MBA. So I think that we have a great team. If you two would just stand up for a second, and yeah, these people are. You don't, I think Ian said something, you don't see what they do a lot in terms of the partnership and the advisement, but you see the outcome of it. Dave is constantly taking pictures with important people now. Anthony's like, when am I going to take pictures with important people? And as you probably know, that the city of Hamilton was named one of the 100 best places to start a business. Cincinnati was on there. The city of Hamilton was in the top 30. And I think that that's directly relational to the type of stuff that, and type of activity that we're conducting at the Hamilton Mill. And so, again, what is the outcomes of these things? Is, right, you don't see the advisement, you don't see the partnership, you don't see the behind the scenes of getting those meetings and, right, getting those applications, but you see, right, you see the outcome of it, right? You see it Petwans, right, in a former vacant building going in, right? You may see your utility bills go down because, right, of a particular new technology that's being deployed. So you don't see exactly the advisement or the recruitment, but the outcomes are there. Fantastic store. So I have a personal story about Petwans. Petwans saved my relationship. It was a big deal. So that little lady right there was irritated, and she kept scratching and was keeping me up at night, and so she was going to have to leave the bedroom. Right, that was going to cost me some socks if I did that. So Petwans was able to find the right spray to be able to soothe her skin, and not only was it was super fast acting, she was calmed down within like a day. She was able to, right, go back to sleep, and now our relationship is saved. Thank you, Petwans. And a lot of people often tell me, they said, man, you look, you're pretty in decent shape. I'm like, you should have saw me before I discovered Almond Sisters. Almond Sisters, I can't say enough about these ladies. Fantastic. I mean, something's going to be awesome when one of their products is called the unicorn horn. And as you can tell, I'm a fan of using unicorns whenever I can. And so it's not so much, right? It's not just so much a business goes into a particular location, right? It's that business itself has a personality. It creates an experience. And the Almond Sisters create that experience for you. Each one of these businesses create an experience, right? You could load up Main and High with a bunch of businesses, all right, and they wouldn't necessarily do extremely well, and it's just nobody would come. But the businesses that you see lining the streets are businesses that have personality, and they give our city personality. And we are blessed to have those businesses here that took, right? Go back 300 years, they're pioneers. And that's, right, the kind of personality, that's the kind of behavior that we call out to, try to reclaim. Future great comics, right? Right, you want individual stores, right, become a destination themselves. But if you have enough of them, your city becomes a destination. And we're always conscious of that outcome. The studio, again, continuing to make these, you can always tell a great entrepreneur because they see not just one pathway to market, they see multiple ways. From not just selling crafts or having people come in there and make things, or, right, it becomes a multitude of things, again, an experience. And if you haven't tried these businesses, I would highly recommend it because you get to know a lot about Hamilton through its businesses. We're defined by what we used to do. We can be redefined by what we do. And taking that, right, that basic concept even further, we're launching something called the Beta Shop, which is a pop-up shop. So what a pop-up shop is, it's a temporary event that allows businesses to go in there and essentially beta test their products. So it utilizes a storefront. We will be going in between where Pet Wants is and Flourish. And businesses that we work with our SBDC and our other advisory units, will go in there for a set period of time, probably between 60 and 90 days, and try it out. And it will, right, it will change and evolve. They'll get market research data. They'll be better positioned to understand how their market sells, who it sells to, and right, and feedback that helps them better, right? If they actually want to go and go out and get a storefront. What's interesting is that we're working with the Hamilton Flea on this. And so they put a kind of a question on their application. They said, would you be interested in this pop-up shop initiative? Or nearly every application they received back said yes. What's interesting is that a store that you're probably all familiar with from over the Rhine actually wants to do it. Which tells you, right, that this is the up-and-coming destination that people want to try out. And we think it's important, and we've heard feedback, so we want to be, the community has been, right, gracious to us. Beta testing, trying out products, being mentors. We've leveraged its expertise. So we want to make sure that the community actually knows that this is a platform that it can utilize for itself, right? And so what we're launching is something called 17 Strong Initiative Neighborhood 17. And basically what this is, the store goal is to start 17 companies that represent the 17 neighborhoods in Hamilton. Get those neighborhoods up and get those businesses up and going, and then work with them to relocate back into the neighborhoods that they came from. An organic way of revitalizing our neighborhoods. Because if our neighborhoods are strong and thriving, our city is going to be strong and thriving. Right? And apparently, so we submitted an application to the EDA around this time last year, talking about the kind of initiatives that we do, the kind of broad swath of things that we undertake. And apparently the EDA thought that we were doing some pretty cool work too, because they awarded us a $500,000 grant to expand and enhance our programmatic efforts. So we're extremely proud of that. And that only comes, right, that only comes from a community that supports you, right, that buys into the vision of what you're trying to undertake. So, as one of our startups there, one of the great comics. That's the end. And so I will be happy, along with any of my colleagues or startups, and answer questions. I know what you're thinking. Does he hatch chickens, though?
You're all very shy today. I've got one over here.
Chris, can you let the business owners stand up and say where they're located and a little bit about their business?
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Yes, we specialize in fixing relationships. But we really specialize in super nutritious dog and cat food. We work with a third-generation family-owned farm, and together with our nutritionists, we make our own dog food every month and cat food every month. It's just really healthy. And it is such a gift to be here, to be in front of all of you. I was really kind of shocked. I wasn't sure what to expect, and to be here with Dave and all these fantastic folks from the city and the folks that we work with from the Corps, and Josh, and hi Jack, and all the other small businesses that are here. This is truly a gift. I mean, my sweetheart and I stepped out in faith to do this, and when you are met with such a warm community to embrace you, it's really lovely, and the people that we've met along the way have just been absolutely delightful. Thank you. And we're located at 139 Main Street, so if you're familiar with the river, we're just a block west on the corner of C and Main, right across the street from Family Dollar and Flourish. So hopefully we'll all see you there. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I am too honored to be here. I'm the co-owner of the studio Masterpieces and Memories. We're located at 118 Main Street, which is, everyone knows it's across from the puppy store because everybody knows the puppy store. Also next to Ivy and formerly Bella Quilts. So we specialize in pottery painting. As you can see here, some examples. And we've also introduced canvas painting. There's so much energy on Main Street, and it's so exciting. We've got reoccurring events. Art Hop is coming up on May 11th. Brian and I are working on a partnership for May the 4th, so that ending picture was very fitting for that event. And you know, art, I think it's so amazing to be in a community that would the arts are so well received, and people really enjoy to create, and you know, creativity and art, they don't know an ethnicity or a gender or you know, an age, and from all, you know, from the moment that people walk into the door and the moment that they come and pick up their piece, it's a genuine like experience at the studio, and it's so fun to see people come together to create, friends and families. And we wouldn't be here without Dave and the Small Business Development Center, truly. And just hats off to the community for their support, and thank you all.
Hi, we are Siren. We were a member of Pipeline program. We actually one of the winners of the Pipeline program. We streamlined the water treatment process. Sorry for my accent. I'm from Far East Ohio, as you can hear. And this device is a table device, the model of of our big device. This one can treat about 500 gallons per day, but our big device can treat 5 million gallons a day. So this is, I will not restart the description, but just know that these are this kind of simple device that in the future will allow the facilities and the industries to treat their water and it will be cheaper to treat them, to treat it instead of dumping it. So that's the goal.
Hi guys, my name's Brian Levick. I'm from Future Great Comics at 528 Main Street, right here in Hamilton. A couple years ago, I moved out here to Hamilton from Florida. I know it makes no sense, but the thing that really drew me to Hamilton was the atmosphere that Hamilton had, electricity. You drove up and down the street, and you saw all these local shop owners that you have not seen since maybe the 80s or 90s. I knew right then and there that Hamilton was going to be my home. I've always dreamed of opening up a comic shop, and this is where I was going to put it. So we sell new and used comics, toys, collectibles, games, things of that nature. I think it's really good for Hamilton to have a family-friendly store and something else to do around here. I think I made a great choice. I've met a lot of great entrepreneurs around here in Hamilton, and I appreciate your support, and thank you for coming today.
Hello, I am Jenny Hubbard, and I'm the owner of the Alma Sisters Bakery. Thanks for having me here. And thanks. Born and raised in Hamilton, went to school in Hamilton. We started at the Hamilton Farmers Market, and just started with a little table. And just fell in love with, we started a family and just needed a place to take our kids, and we didn't want to drive too far out of town to have to do that. And so we started the farmer's market, started growing, started just my husband and I were both artists. We went to art school, and now our art medium is flour and sugar and butter instead of what we used to do. But anyways, it's a privilege to be here. If you haven't been to the bakery yet, I hope you come and visit us. We love our community, and Brian is right about the community. Like, I don't know the water community thing yet, the water invention, the guy from Far East Ohio, but that sounds really cool. I appreciate brains like you. And what she said from the studio is so true. I've been to the studio, I've been to Future Great, and I've been to Pet Once, and they deliver. But the studio is so fun because you can actually just have a party there and paint, and it's just, there's really cool things you can get out and do in your community. So thanks for having us, and this was really fun, so it's a privilege. Have a great day.
Does anybody have any questions of our host or any of our guests here today? Bueller? Anyone? Ooh, no, scratching, I don't know. You're all very quiet today. I was telling Chris, I said they ask questions, they'll ask lots of questions. They're all really smart and amazing. Oh, well, there you go. Oh, we've got another one. We got one from Pet Once. I've got to say, my doggy, it's a Pet Once. And he's a happy puppy.
Curious about the space that's in between our shop and Flourish.
Mm-hmm.
When will that happen, and how long will it go for? It's really exciting. I mean, it's so exciting. We love to hear stuff like this. Can you share any more information about that?
Yes. So the companies that come through will go through our program. It will be a called an entrepreneurial boot camp to make sure that their financials are on point. Their marketing, right, their products. So nobody's going to go in there that's iffy. We want this to be a real launch board for people. And if everything kind of, there's some remodeling going on in it, if the timeline is accurate, it should be June. Yep. That's when you'll see the first pop-up shops, businesses.
Well, if there's nobody else, I would like to thank our good friends at the Hamilton. Oh, we'd have a question? Oh, gosh, I had it all prepared and everything. I was going to give you a big send-off. It's not going to happen now, Chris. What have we got?
Thank you. I have a question for the Siren. You said that it would take most of the waste out of the water, but what do you do with the waste that doesn't come out? And you have to still treat it, don't you?
Well, it gets collected, so you have many solutions. It's concentrated, so it's easier to dispose to. But you can also reuse it, depend of what kind of nutriments. For example, there are some applications we extract nitrogen and phosphorus that can be reused for growing, for grower. There are some applications where you can really reuse. When it's radioactive materials, you do not want to reuse them. But the majority of the material that we extract from the water before the water get back clean can be reused.
Anybody else? Okay, I'm going to wrap this up here. I'm going to try again. Thank you so much to Chris Lawson, to Anthony Seppi, and to all our guests here from the Hamilton Mill. Thank you for everything you do in growing this city, making it stronger and better and more livable every day. We really certainly appreciate it. And thank you for your time today. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chris Lawson and the Hamilton Mill. It's been great to see a fantastic crowd out here today to hear about the Hamilton Mill. We're very proud of what's going on here in Hamilton. We will see you again here at the Fitton Center very soon. Have a lovely afternoon.